that Gandhi's philosophy was not based on the India, but it was based on the global level. Gandhi was a very different human being in compared to the other. He had a different, unique personality. Means you can understand the fact that he went there in the South Africa to just what you call to see the what you call the legal cause of that particular farm, but he was not only kept himself quiet to discuss that case of the firm and to do the work, but there he has started a kind of what you call the protest. He has taken the initiative that how we can establish the equality between the people, equality between the white man and the black man and the Asian people. Means he has started raising his protest. He has started raising the voices with the help of people to raise their concerns. So we can say that Gandhi, if Gandhi wanted, he must have done the job. He must have done the job of as a lawyer, as a kind of barrister there, and he must have listened the case. He must have pointed the thing, and he must have come back to from the South Africa to India. But this thing has not been happened because the incident, as I had mentioned you earlier, how he was thrown out from the train, that thing has made a very big compelling message in his heart and the mind that I need to fight against the discrimination which I have seen against all the person. Means this is not only the fight between or struggle or what you call the insultation or humiliation of mine, but it is a humiliation of all the Indians and the black men. So that point of time, he has started a kind of protest and the resentment to establish the equality between the people. If we can see, if we can see the Gandhi's philosophy, so we can say that Gandhi is mostly the philosophy. His philosophy is based on the three important facts, or we can say the three important things. What are those three important things? The Gandhi's major philosophy is based on the principle of truth. Means the Gandhi has talked about that we have to follow the footprints of truth. What is truth? Gandhi stands for truth stands for the God, which means all the persons should have to perform their activity, should have to perform their duty, should have to perform their work without harming others, without what you call making any damage to the opponent. Means all the persons should perform their activity and the role according to the given task and without harming the other person. So according to him, the truth is somewhere associated with the activity which is being done by all the individuals. So Gandhi has taken the truth as a what you call the activity of the individual. It is related to the work. Means where the all the persons are going to perform the work without harming other. मतलब कि सभी व्यक्ति अपना अपना जो काम है वो काम करेंगे दूसरों को बिना हानि पहुंचाए हुए. The second thing is the ahimsa, that is non-violence. Gandhi has believed in the principle that if you are going to use or if you will use the violence, it is not the solution of any cause. If you are going to give the reply to the violence means that is not the solution. You will not get the long lasting solution. You may get the solution, but that will be very temporary because you have not won the heart of opponent. So Gandhi's basic idea was you need to win the heart of opponent. You need to make such kind of behavior that other person who is standing opposite to you must compel to accept all the things whatsoever you are saying. So Gandhi has tried to follow the footprint on the of the ahimsa, means non-violence, and the purity. What the purity is basically stands here for? Gandhi was talking about the purity of ideas, purity of work, purity of values. Means all the person whosoever is performing their activity, all the person whosoever is doing their work, they should be based on the principle of purity. Means they should do the work where a person is not harming other person. The person is pure in self. The person is not doing any activities based on the biased manner, means the person is not protecting and promoting the self-interest. So Gandhi's purity here means the self-interest versus the others' interest. So Gandhi has talked about all the person are performing their work without making their own interest, promoting and protecting their own interest. Means all the person are performing their work on the basis of neutral basis or in the equality principle. So that the person can perform the activity in that in a correct method. As you can see that Gandhi has seen that truth, God is a truth. And what is the God stands for? According to the Gandhi, the God is the person who always provide the what you call the right direction. So according to the Gandhi, that truth is a sovereign principle, where all the person on this earth always try to search for that. According to the Gandhi, that truth never identify any kind of support. Truth himself is the answer of all the queries or all the question which is being exploded, which is being discussed. मतलब कि जो सच्चाई है वो सभी व्यक्तियों के लिए मतलब कि अपना काम करने से जैसा है, मतलब कि सभी व्यक्ति अपना कर्म जो करते हैं, गांधी जी ने उसी को ट्रुथ से लिया, सच्चाई से लिया। गांधी जी ने भगवान को भी ट्रुथ से जोड़ा, बिकॉज we are doing the prayer not to please or not to harm any other person, but we do the prayer for the what you call that the person. God has done the work for all over the world, and he should have to perform such kind of activity. So according to Gandhi, the God is the synonym for the truth. Means all the persons should have to perform their activity. The Gandhi has mentioned that God is truth, and in the latter phase of his life, he said that truth is God. Whatever the person is performing their activity, that is a God kind of thing is being there. The next thing which I was talking about to all of you is that purity. Gandhi has stressed the purity of ends and the means. What is the ends of end and the means means? It means for that whatever the work person is doing, the work should not have to make any kind of harm or any kind of damage to any other person views, ideas, or any kind of activity. So गांधी हैज टॉक्ड अबाउट द प्योरिटी मीन्स अपने आप में पवित्र होने के लिए। तो गांधी क्या कहते थे? गांधी जी, गांधी हैज ऑलवेज टॉक्ड अबाउट द मेथड ऑफ फास्टिंग. Gandhi has said that fasting is also one of the method where we control our senses, where we control our emotions and the values. We never driven by the principle called as protection and the promotion of the self interest, harming other. So Gandhi has talked about the purity basically means all the person is performing their activity and the role, and their role is not based on the discrimination of any other person. Their role is not based on the harming any other person. So he was talking about the purity, that all individuals are pure in terms of doing work, performing their activity. So Gandhi has said that ahimsa as a purity as the ends and the means. What is the end and means? End is the goal. For example, all of you are studying, taking the class here. All of you have the end is like to get a good job. The what is the means? What things you are applying means you're taking the education, you have taken the political science paper. So these means always help all the person to achieve the end, and basically stands for the conclusion or some certain kind of result. So means are the tools which is being utilized by the all the individuals. So Gandhi has talked about it should be purity based. And the next is the ahimsa. Gandhi has talked about that ahimsa is one of the important context, important thing. And ahimsa can be seen, ahimsa can be seen as a important principle, because it is ahimsa which always converts the human being, which always helps the human being. So according to the Gandhi, that ahimsa is a method, it is a technique which propels or which influences the other person without harming self, without harming other person, without doing the kind of damage to the opponent person. So this thing has been mentioned by the Gandhi. So if you can say, if you can talk about the Gandhi's major philosophy, so these three important philosophies are there. That is based on the truth, ahimsa, and the purity. So these are the three important things. So now we need to discuss that Hind Swaraj. First of all, I would like to mention you the term Swaraj. First time the term was utilized by the Bal Gangadhar Tilak. It was the Bal Gangadhar Tilak who has used the term Swaraj first before then the Gandhi, and it was the Gandhi who has what you call taken the Swaraj a kind of uh, principle where all the person can get the maximum liberty, maximum benefit. So that is the height of Gandhi. Gandhi has written the book Hind Swaraj. Gandhi has written the book Hind Swaraj in the 1909 while the time of coming from Britain to the South Africa in the Atlantic Ocean during that period of the time. So you can imagine 1909 1909 में महात्मा गांधी जी ने हिंद स्वराज लिखा था, वो ब्रिटेन से साउथ अफ्रीका के पर आने के लिए के समय लिखा था. You can imagine that what kind of condition, what kind of thought, and what kind of context were going on in the minds of the Gandhi. So Gandhi has basically tried to make or to remove all forms of the atrocities against the individual. Gandhi wanted to remove all the atrocities against the individual on this earth, and Gandhi wanted to make a state where all the person can live a very happy and the peaceful life. So we can say that Gandhi Swaraj was basically written in the South Africa or in the journey, and that point of time, he's that Swaraj is considered as the one of the most selling book at that point of time. Gandhi has translated, as I had mentioned you, in competitive exams, this question may come that Gandhi has written the book Hind Swaraj first in which language? English, Hindi, Gujarati, or what you call the kind of Marathi. So which language? The language this has been used. So we need to mention the point that Gandhi has utilized the Hind Swaraj in the context how we can provide the liberty and the freedom of all the individual, not only of the India but across the world. We need to fight for the cause for the South African people as well as the Indian people as well as the Britishers people. So Gandhi was trying to talk about that thing, that Swaraj is basically meant for all the persons should live a life where they should not have any kinds of discrimination. So the question here is, as we were discussing in this class, that why Gandhi has written the book Hind Swaraj. So according to the Anthony Parel is a good renowned scholar. He is a good renowned scholar, and he always he always Anthony Parel is a great renowned scholar. He always try to stand for the any forms of the discrimination or any issues are there. So the Anthony Parel was the person who has interpreted the Gandhi in his own book, and in his introduction he has mentioned the solid background to keep in the mind. Gandhi was reading both Indian and the Western text while formulating his argument in the human this Hindu Swaraj. So, according to Gandhi, he was engaged with the politics of South Africa, India, and the Great Britain. Some of the explicitly stated in the text, or the other spaces in the text. One should scholars have called Gandhi's this Hindu Swaraj is a type of trans-oceanic nationalism. What is the trans-oceanic nationalism means? The country is boundary is not limited within the particular area within the sea route, but the country's boundary can also be crossed to the sea. So Gandhi has talked about in that manner that Hindu Swaraj is a trans-oceanic nationalism where he has tried to allocate the idea about how all the person could be free enough, how all the person should be free enough. So now the question here is that what does Gandhi meant when he said these views are mine and you're not mine? मतलब कि आपका view मेरा view नहीं है, मेरा view आपका view है. So he was talking about in that manner that the point to consider is the latest idea because something not original means Gandhi has tried to read the book, and while the time of reading book he has realized the thing which is being mentioned by the Gandhi is not correct. So Gandhi was trying to make a life where we can overcome from all forms of the problem. तो हम जिससे मतलब गांधी जी कहते हैं कि हम कैसे हर प्रॉब्लम से कैसे आसानी से जुड़ सकते हैं. So now अगर हम देखें गांधी जी what the basically Gandhi meant for the truth according to the some dictionary Oxford University dictionary, we can say that Gandhi has mentioned the truth as a throughout his life, and Gandhi has said that truth for Gandhi is a God, and he has correlated the truth with the God, and these things were there. And if you can ask me that he has not keen to identify or define the God except say the God as a truth. So he has always talked about all the individual should be free enough, and all the persons should have the liberty, all the person have all forms of the utility. They should not have any kind of the discrimination. Now अगर हम देखें कि हिंद स्वराज को डिकोड करने की कोशिश करें तो द टर्म स्वराज basically stands for the home rule. If you can read the book para 9, it has been mentioned that home rule basically stands for the Swaraj. So Gandhi has realized that Swaraj as a home rule and the Swaraj as a self rule. So Gandhi has said that Swaraj can be used as a self rule, as well as the Gandhi has also used the Swaraj in terms of uh, home rule or the self rule kind of thing. So, if you can say that the Gandhi Swaraj is basically multiple ways in which nationalists are interpreting self-rule and the self-government. So, you can say that how the Gandhi has basically meant for the literally the Swaraj means Swa means self and the Raj means rule. So, how self-rule can be possible? For example, if you can ask any person, how can I do the self-rule? The person will say that it is not possible that you cannot able to do the self-rule. But for the Gandhi, that self-rule is not associated with the functioning or doing activity. According to Gandhi, the self-rule is basically related to all the individuals should perform maximum by self. Means all the persons should do the work by self rather than the depending on the other person. मतलब कि सभी व्यक्ति को अपना कार्य स्वयं करना चाहिए, ना कि दूसरों को ऊपर डिपेंड हो करके. So Gandhi was talking about in that all the persons should have to be independent enough. All the persons should not be feel pressurized either economically. All the persons should have the charkha should be there, and all the persons should perform the activity of the self rule. So this thing has been said by the Gandhi, and Gandhi has also mentioned that there are multiple ways of how we can establish the self rule. So Gandhi has talked about we can do the election, and on the basis of election we can identify who have got the maximum votes, so we can that person can form the government. But here I want to tell you one thing that Gandhi has talked about the Gram Swaraj. Gandhi has said the best form of the Indian democracy would be that Gram Swaraj, where all the persons' political will can be achieved, all the persons must have mentioned their political will. So we can say that according to Gandhi, the finally the Swaraj basically stands for Swaraj is basically stands for the implication of nationalists should be interested in the improvement of the nation, but also the self. So Gandhi has talked about the Swaraj somewhere related with the freedom and the individual liberty. If you can say, see in this whole chart, the Swaraj is associated with the self-rule, freedom, autonomy, self-reliance, and the responsibility. So Gandhi has talked about the self is related with the Sanghars. Self-rule is associated with the ancient Indian history. The self-rule is associated with the individual and the collective autonomy. So if you can see these whole things or the interpretation, So you can find that Gandhi Swaraj was nothing else but to provide the maximum benefit to all the person. All the persons on a person on this earth should feel maximum benefit, and they should not have to feel any kind of differences or any issues can be there. So Gandhi has talked about in that manner that all the persons should be free enough to do the work, all the persons should not be dependent on the others. So गांधी कोर वैल्यू मतलब कि अगर आप गांधी के हर चीज को पढ़ोगे तो आपको गांधी का हिंद स्वराज निकल के सामने आएगा. तो गांधी हिंद स्वराज इज वेरी ब्रॉड टर्म and it is not easy to read whole concept in a 1 or 2 days, so it takes time. But anyhow, what I was talking to you is that Gandhi Swaraj basically stands for the self rule or the self reliance, means all the persons should be self independent person. The person should not be dependent on the third party or the fourth party. The person should not be dependent on any other person. The person is dependent on the सेल्फ, मतलब कि सभी आदमी स्व पे अपने आप में जिम्मेदारी लें और कोई दूसरे के जिम्मेवारी से बचें. सो दिस थिंग हैज बीन मेंशन बाय द term Swaraj. So the term Swaraj can have a personal meaning as well as the political as well as the economic. So there are some glimpses of the Swaraj in the COVID era, that Suraj Anna Hazare has always tried to provide the monetary help and monetary support to the education institutions. So what I'm talking to you is that in this image you can see that how the Anna Swaraj means, Anna Swaraj means how we can provide the food, how we can provide the food to the poor person without protecting and promoting interest on, without getting the money or without getting the interest, what do you call, the profit. Means you should provide the food to the people on the basis of giving free of cost at, or as just as a for case of whatsoever the amount is there, you can pay those things. So means all the persons should be self independent, means you can see in the image that all the women should be independent enough to earn their own chapatis or make their own chapatis. They should not be depend on the other neighbor or any other person. So we can say in that mean. So somewhere Gandhi Swaraj is also associated with the term civilization. Means what is the civilization basically stands for? The civilization term basically stands for the what do you call, the what kind of culture you have. Somewhere Gandhi has used the term civilization with the culture, that what kind of culture is there, Western culture versus the Indian culture. The civilization means what kind of historical legacies are there, what kind of things you have witnessed. For example, in India, you must have witnessed the Hindu tradition that we need to provide the food to the poor person. We need to provide help the needy man. We need to provide the help to all those persons whosoever is required the things. On the other hand, Western civilization, all the person are driven by the self-interest. Protection and the promotion of self-interest is the first and the foremost thing. All the person are not following the model of philanthropy. Means all the person are performing the work on the basis of what to call, especially the Western people, on the basis of protection of the self-interest. तो गांधी का जी का कहना था जो सिविलाइजेशन है वो एक भारत की संस्कृति को दिखाता है जिसमें हर व्यक्ति दूसरे व्यक्ति को सहायता करना चाहता है, हर व्यक्ति दूसरे व्यक्ति को सपोर्ट करता है. कोई अगर कहीं दिक्कत में है, द पर्सन ऑलवेज ट्राई टू help the person. So this is the kind of civilization Gandhi was talking about. Means Gandhi has said that civilization is one of the important tool, and Gandhi has really meant that Indian civilization is defined that the product of conduct which point out the man the path of duty. Means all the persons would have to perform their activity, perform their duty, and this will help not only to the individual but also to the state. So this thing has been mentioned by the Gandhi, and Gandhi has said one more thing here is that the Western civilization is corrupt civilization because all the person in the Western countries are dependent on the self, and they work for the सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट बेसिस. मतलब कि जो पश्चिमी देशों में जो व्यक्ति हैं वो अपने स्वार्थ की पूर्ति में लगे हुए हैं, वो अपने कैसे धन बनाना है, कैसे अपने इच्छाओं की पूर्ति करना. ऑल द पर्सन्स आर ऑलवेज बीन ड्रिवन ऑन द मॉडल ऑफ protection and the promotion of self-interest. So Gandhi has discussed that from where India have received the railway. It was from the Britain. Who from where the in doctors have evolved in India. There is a kind of what you call the doctors were not there in India. That the teachers they used to give the herbal medicine, the what you call this uh, Ayurveda is there, means on the basis of Ayurveda medicine, the person used to treat the wounds, treat the whatsoever the problem is there without harming the other body. So what the Gandhi has talked about, the modern doctors are more corrupt. They are like just to earn the money. They do the work to earn the money. So Gandhi has criticized the railways because railway has disintegrated the India. Railway has given the path to the Britishers to reach to the integral part of the India, and they can what you call do the business. So on the other hand, the lawyers, according to the Gandhis, lawyers are the person who always try to divide the people, and their major agenda is how to earn the money in the division of other persons. So this thing has also been mentioned by the Gandhi. So Gandhi has basically tried to say that the Western education system is corrupt system. The Western education system has not followed the model of इथिक्स, मतलब कि जो पश्चिमी देशों में जो शिक्षा की जो पद्धति है, वहां पे नैतिकता के सिद्धांत को नहीं पढ़ाया जाता, वहां पे नैतिकता की चीजों को नहीं बताया जाता. सो वी कैन से दैट हाउ the Gandhi has tried to criticize the modernity at that point of time. Gandhi has tried to criticize the modernity in terms of this modernity is going to benefit the not the individual but to the person. So Gandhi has talked about the civilization is one of the important thing. Gandhi has also talked about the passive resistance. Means passive resistance means all the person should perform the activity where the person will not feel any kind of uh, harm from the other person. Means the person should do the punish to self. The person should do the punish to the self. The person should harm the self, but the person should not based on the harming other person. So this is kind of a soul force is there. So this is according to Gandhi is a truth force, means all the persons are trying to find the truth in the present world. So these things were there. So just in today's lecture I wanted to mention these few important points about the what you call the Swaraj. तो अगर किसी कोई टॉपिक कोई चीज समझ में नहीं आया स्वराज का तो आप पूछ सकते हो. स्वराज का कोई चीज अगर समझ में नहीं आया सो जस्ट आई वांटेड टू कीप इन अ वेरी शॉर्ट बेसिस. सो जस्ट इन अ स्नैपशॉट I want to say that Gandhi's principle, Gandhi's philosophy is based on the three important thing. First is the truth, में सभी व्यक्ति को सच्चाई बोलना चाहिए. सच्चाई से क्या होता है, अब आदमी सबसे पहले झूठ क्यों बोलता है? Why all persons tell the lie? To protect and promote the self interest. Second thing, the Gandhi has talked about the purity, that we require a purity. What the purity is basically means? The purity basically means that all the persons should do the work not on the basis of harming other. मतलब कि सभी व्यक्ति प्योरिटी का मतलब है पवित्रता से है कि सभी व्यक्ति कार्य करेंगे दूसरों को उसमें कार्य में हार्म नहीं करेंगे. Means all of you should do the work of study, but in the study work you are not going to harm the other person. The third thing the Gandhi has tried to talk about the non-violence, ahimsa. Gandhi has said that violence is not the solution of anything. The all the response, the answer of all the things, all the problems is the non-violence. Non-violence is the only source through which we can solve the problem. Now, if you can see the Gandhi Swaraj is associated with the independence, self-independence of all the person. Means how all the person can be independent enough to take the decision or to be to economically they can earn the thing whatsoever they want. And for example, if there is any problem is there to any individual, that problem will be solved in the basis of what you call mutual support or mutual cooperation. So this thing has been mentioned by the Gandhis in his book, the Hind Swaraj. So there, the Gandhi has basically tried to criticize the modernity. Gandhi has said that the railway, doctor, lawyers, these modern products are the agent of colonizing India, are the agents of trying to create a verge or trying to create a boundary or dispute between the people. So उस टाइम हम देख सकते हैं कैसे गांधी जी का जो आपका हिंसा है, अहिंसा के सिद्धांत, वो बिलीव करता है कैसे लोगों को जोड़े। वी दैट बिलीव मीन्स विदाउट हार्मिंग अदर्स वी नीड टू फॉलो द principle of self purity, principle of purify the self. So these were the things Gandhi has discussed in his स्वराज। स्वराज गांधी के लिए एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, क्योंकि गांधी मानते थे कि ऑल द पर्सन इन दिस वर्ल्ड वांट टू लिव इन अ वेरी peaceful atmosphere. They want to overcome from all forms of the problem, or they want to overcome from all forms of the issue. So the only solution, according to the Gandhi, is the what you call the following the Swaraj. Swaraj is the only method, only way through which all the person can live a better life. Okay, so these were the things I wanted to